Hello, my little yarnivores and spiderettes. Fiber Spider back again with another tutorial for you. And today I'm going to show you another fabulous pattern by PurpleIguana on Ravelry. This one is called the Sort of Half Circle Shawl. I love her sense of humor, I really do. And so this shawl, as you could see by the pictures, is in a sort of half circle. And it is worked, let me grab the beginning here, it is worked from the top down in a back and forth half circle sort of way. And so this works up really, really great with a self-color changing yarn. This one is by Lion Brand. It is Mandala. I've used this for a number of other projects, and I really thought that this would work up nicely. This colorway, I believe, is Wood Nymph or Woodland Nymph, if I'm not mistaken, and I thought it was absolutely darling. And the pattern itself is really, 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 really simple once you get going, and believe it or not, it is only a 2-row repeat. So it's a great project. Now, that's only one of the 2 variations that PurpleIguana gives. There are 2, yes. One of them, actually, is a 4-row repeat. The other one, it's a 2-row repeat. And I decided on the 2-row repeat between solid and eyelet rows, and I think it came out really lovely. And then she gives a really lovely edging, which typically I'm not fond of edgings, but this one was so easy, and I just had to do it, and I thought it came out really great. So, without further ado, I'm going to show you how to whip up this really beautiful shawl, and I used, I would say, about a skein and a half of the mandala yarn. Again, as always, no, I'm not sponsored, but I always like to let you know what I use so that you can do something similar if you so choose. And so I'm going to show you the 2-row repeat version of this shawl. Both of the versions are in the pattern, the free pattern on Ravelry, which I'm going to put a link to in the description box down below. And that way you can pick and choose whichever one you want. And I'm also going to show you how to do this really simple, lovely edging. And so without further ado, let's get started. Alrighty, so for this example, for this demo piece, I'm using just some typical worsted weight yarn, a little bit thicker than the mandala yarn, and I'm using a size H sized crochet hook. You can use really whatever works for you. By all means, go for it. I'm just giving my personal slant on things, as I tend to do. I believe in the pattern she suggests a fingering weight yarn, which is very thin, and a size I crochet hook. I always say, do whatever works for you. You can follow the pattern, tweak it to your liking. You know, to each their own is what I always say. So we're going to start with a slip knot. Now, you can do the magic circle method. I have my own method, you know, as you should know by now. I march to the beat of my own bongos. So what we're going to do, if you want to follow along in my particular vein, after the slip knot, we're going to chain up 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that chain 3 here is going to act as our first double crochet, and that first chain is going to act as sort of our magic ring. So we need a total of 7 double crochets. So we already got 1, and so into that first chain we're going to do 6 double crochets. So we've got a total of 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And then, of course, you could always cinch that nice and closed, and you can sew in the ends later. So it's just a matter of 7 double crochets to begin with, and that's the end of row 1. Alrighty, so for the second round, I'm going to start by chaining up 3, and that's going to act as our first double crochet. Now we're going to need to add an extra chain space in there, so we're chaining up a total of 4 to begin with, alrighty, because it's a double crochet plus 1. And then we are going to do a double crochet into the next stitch. Not this first one here, but the next one over. So not here, but into here. So we've got 2 double crochets separated by a chain 1 space. Okay. Then we need to chain 1 again, double crochet into the next double crochet, chain 1, double crochet into the next double crochet, chain 1, double crochet into the next double crochet, chain 1, double crochet into the next double crochet, chain 1, and then last but not least, we need to double crochet into the top of this first chain, which, yes, it can be a little bit tricky, but we can do it. It's always more difficult in the very beginning, but then it'll get easier. See, just right into there, underneath those 2 little loops, and we finish up our double crochet. So by the end of row 2, you're going to have 7 double crochets and 6 chain 1 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And so that's the end of the second row. Alrighty, onwards to row 3. Going to start by chaining up 3. Turn the work. Now into the first stitch, we need a total of 2 double crochets. So this counts as our first. We're going to do another double crochet into that same first stitch space right there. So we've got 2. Okay. Then we chain 1, and it will be 2 double crochets into this double crochet right here. Like so. And then chain 1, 2 double crochets into the next double crochet stitch. And we're going to repeat that for the end of this row. So you're doing 2 double crochets into each double crochet, separated by a chain 1 space. Okay, and then we've got this troublesome little booger at the end here. So what you're going to do is you're going to make sure that you're skipping over that chain space, and you're going into the 1, 2, 3rd, the 3rd one right here. See, we've got 1, 2, and the 3rd. Okay. 2 double crochets into that stitch. So as you can see, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pairs. So we've got 14 double crochets, and we still have 6 chain spaces. And that's the end of row 3. Alrighty, so onwards to the 4th row. Now this is where the 2 patterns differ. If you're going for the 2-row repeat pattern, this is what is called the eyelet row. if you were going for the 4-row repeat, you would continue on with the first section of the pattern. If you just follow along with me, you'll see what it is to do the 2-row repeat. So, if you look at the instructions, you'll see what I'm talking about. But for now, we're going to go with the eyelet row for row 4. All right, so we're going to start by chaining up 3. 1, 2, 3. And that counts as a double crochet within the first stitch. It's an extension of the first stitch. Okay, now we need a chain space because this is the eyelet row. So we're going to chain 1 more. So it's a total of 4 chains. Okay, and then we're going to do a double crochet, not into this first stitch, but into the next one right there. So we've got 2 double crochets with a chain 1 space in between. Then we chain 1 because we got to go over this little gap here and go to the next grouping. So I'm going to do a double crochet into that double crochet, chain 1, double crochet into the next double crochet stitch. Got to bridge the gap again, so we have to chain 1, double crochet into the next double crochet, chain 1, double crochet into the next double crochet, chain 1, double crochet into the next double crochet, chain 1, double crochet into the next double, chain 1, double crochet into the next double, chain 1, double into the next double, chain 1, another double, another chain, another double, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1, and then a double crochet into this last double crochet. There we go. Alrighty. And so that is the end of the 4th row. Alrighty. Ta-da! Isn't that pretty? Alright, so we're about to start row 5. Now, for this pattern, rows 5 and 6 are the repeats. Okay, so we're about to start the actual repeat process. This right here, what we've done thus far for the first 4 rows, is basically the foundation setup for this particular piece. And then after that, it's gravy, which I absolutely love. So for row 5, we're going to start by chaining up 3, turn the work, and do a second double crochet into this first stitch here, like so. Okay. Then we are going to do a double crochet into the chain space, like so. Okay. And then a double crochet into the next double crochet. So basically, this is going to be our first segment, and you can see where the segments are because this pairing, this pairing, this pairing, and so forth are segments. And now we're creating another segment, and you'll see what I mean once we go on. I'm just trying to be thorough for you. Now we are going to chain 1. And into this next double crochet. See, this is one of our segments because we have our pairing there. So after chaining 1 up here, into this first double crochet, we are going to do 2 double crochets. Like so. So we have a space here. And we did 2 in that post there. Okay, then we do a double crochet into the chain one space, and then another double crochet into the double crochet. So that is our second segment separated by a chain one space. So now we go on to the third segment. So that's chain one into this next double crochet. We do 2 double crochets because we need to have this increase as we go along. So we've got 2 in that first one, then a double crochet into the chain one space, and then a double crochet into the next double crochet. And that is 3 segments. Now, it doesn't seem readily apparent at the moment, but as your shawl grows, you'll be able to see it much easier, believe you me. So then we chain one again into the next double crochet. We do 2 double crochet stitches. Then a double crochet into the chain one space, and then a double crochet into the next double crochet, chain one, 2 double crochets into the next double crochet, double crochet into the chain one space, and a double crochet into the next double crochet. Chain one, 2 double crochets into the next double crochet, double crochet into the chain one space, and a double crochet into the next double crochet. So for each of these segments, you have 4 double crochets sort of clustered together, as you can see. And then for our last segment, we're going to chain one, 2 double crochets into that first double crochet stitch, double crochet into the chain one space, and then a double crochet into the third chain from the bottom to complete the last segment, like so. So as you can see, our segments were 2 double crochets, and now they're 4 double crochets. And so we're going to have another eyelet row next. Alrighty, so this was row 5, and now we're going to get on to row 6. Alrighty, so for row 6, like I said, it's an eyelet row. We're going to start by needing a double crochet and a chain one space. So we're going to chain up 4 and turn the work. And we are going to do a double crochet, not into this first stitch because we have one right here. We're going to do one in the next stitch. So we've got 2 double crochets separated by a chain one, then we chain one, and we're going to skip this next double crochet. We're going to go into the one thereafter. So as you can see right there, then we chain one, and we're skipping over this eyelet space here. We're going to go into this next double crochet with a double crochet, chain one, and then we're not going to skip over this one. We're going to go into this one, like so. And it'll become more apparent as you go on, trust me. Then we chain one, and we're skipping over this one, going into the next one with a double crochet. You see, if you want to do every other stitch you need to make some allowances for its growth. So when you're starting on the eyelet rows, you need to go into the direct next one, and then you're able to skip. I'm going to do a couple of these repeat rows for you so that it becomes more and more apparent as to how you can follow the pattern. All right? Trust me, I know what it's like. So we need to skip over that eyelet. Also, one more thing, I'm sorry to keep cutting myself off here, but you see how there is a line here, and there is a definite line here of eyelet spaces that divides the various segments. You are really going to want that as your guide, okay, because you are never going to want to do a stitch in this chain one space. You're never going to want to do that and fill up the hole, so to speak, because then you won't have a clean line dividing up your pie wedges, so to speak. You can for a different project. For this one, we want those nice and open. All right, so now to go on to the next segment, going to chain one, double crochet into that first double crochet, chain one, double crochet into the next one, chain one, then skip one, go into the next with a double crochet, chain one. Now we need to go into the next segment, so we're going into that first double crochet with a double crochet, chain one, double crochet into the very next double crochet, okay, chain one. Now we skip this one, going into the next, chain one, going into the next segment, we go into the first double crochet, chain one, double crochet into the next double crochet, chain one, skip one, go into the next with a double crochet, chain one, going into the next segment, double crochet into the first double crochet, chain one, double crochet into the second double crochet, chain one, skip one, go into the next double crochet with a double, chain one, next segment, we go into the first double crochet with a double, chain one, double crochet into the next double crochet, chain one, and then double crochet into the last double crochet. And that is the end of the 6th row. All right, now, like I said, I am going to do several repeats so that it becomes more obvious how the pattern itself works. Because every row, it has to grow, right? Well, so as you can see with the solid rows, not the eyelet rows, but with the solid rows, the very first stitch in each segment gets doubled, right? Well, in the eyelet rows, we need growth as well, and that's why they are together, okay, before you skip. And that's how each row will continue to grow so that it will lay nice and flat. It's all about increments, okay? So I'm going to do rows 5 and 6, a bit more, and that way hopefully you'll be able to see, that you too can do this without having to look at the pattern and follow along with me. You can do this on your own, and it's one of those great patterns where you can just sort of lose yourself in it and tear along like a spider on way too much caffeine like I am. All right, so we'll continue right along. Okay, so now for the repeat of row 5, going to start by chaining up 3, turn the work, do a double crochet into that first double crochet, okay, just like we did down in here, Okay, then a double crochet into the chain one space, double crochet into the next double crochet, double crochet into the chain one space, and then double crochet into the next double crochet. All right, so that's the end of the first segment. Now, a really great way of being able to figure out, do I have enough stitches? You can count the previous solid row. The previous solid row is 4 stitches. This one is 6 stitches, okay? So when you go from here to here, it's always an increase of 2 stitches, okay, for your solids, all right? So now we need to go to the next segment. So we're going to chain 1, 2 double crochets into that first double crochet because we need the increase, and then a double crochet into the chain 1 space, double crochet into the next double crochet into the next chain 1 space, and double crochet into the next double. Okay, so again we've got 6. So next segment, chain 1, 2 double crochets into the first double crochet, double crochet into the next chain 1 space, double crochet into the next double into the chain 1 space, and double into the next double. All right, so that's the end of that segment. All right. Chain 1, going on to the next segment, 2 double crochets into the first double, double crochet into the next chain 1 space, double into the next double into the next chain 1 space, and double into the last double. All right, that's the end of that segment. Chain 1, 2 doubles into the first double, double into the chain 1 space, and I need to pull out some more yarn. Pardon me, my dears. All right. Alrighty. Okay. Is my camera in focus, or am I getting wonky here? Sorry. There we go. I'm sorry. Modern technology. Oy. All right, so we did 2 doubles into the first double, a double crochet into the chain 1 space, and then a double into the next double into the next chain 1 space, and double into the last double. You see? Isn't it pretty? I'm sorry, I do love it ever so much. And PurpleIguana, you know, such great patterns. Absolutely love them. Pardon me. So we chain 1 to go on to the next of the segments with 2 doubles in the first double, double crochet into the next chain 1 space, double crochet into the next double into the next chain 1 space, and double into the last double of that segment. Okay, so we got 1 more to go. Chain 1, 2 doubles in the first double, if I can get there. All right, double into the chain 1 space, double into the next double, double into the next chain one space, and then last but not least, my dears, double into the third chain from the bottom into that last double crochet, figuratively speaking. And that is the end of the row. And then, so yes, you guessed it, the next row is going to be another eyelet row, and I'm going to do that with you right now. Okay. Alrighty, so for another eyelet row, we're going to chain up 4 because we need a double crochet with a chain 1 space. Alright, and so we're not going to do a double into this first double, but then one right next one over. Okay, chain 1, so we're skipping to the next double. We're always going to skip one there. Chain 1, skip 1, go into the next. So now what I was saying before about how we went from 4 doubles to 6 doubles, well, we went from 2 spaces to 3 spaces, okay? So when you're going from the solids, it's an increase of 2 stitches. When you're going with the eyelets, it's an increase of 1 eyelet, okay? And that way you can do a quick count and check to see if you're on the right track, which is always, always good. So we chain 1 to get to our next segment, and we do a double crochet into the first double crochet, chain 1, and we're not skipping the first one. We're going directly into that next double crochet because we need that increase, remember? Chain 1. Now we do the skipping. So as you can see, I skipped one there, right there. All right, chain 1. And then we need to skip one again. So we're going into that last double crochet with a double crochet, chain 1. Going over to the next segment with a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet into the very next double with a double, chain 1, skip 1, go into the next with a double, chain 1, skip 1, go into the last, there you go, chain 1, go into the first double with a double, chain 1, go into the next double with a double, chain 1, skip 1, go into the next with a double, chain 1, skip 1, go into the last with a double, chain 1, go into the first with a double, chain 1, go into the next with a double, okay, chain 1, skip 1, go into the next with a double, oops, so I skipped that one, went in there, chain 1, skip 1, go into the last with a double, chain 1, we've got 2 more segments to go, we can do it. So going into that first double with a double, oops, yes, this happens to me too. All right, there we are, chain 1, go into the next double with a double, chain 1, now we skip 1, go into the next, chain 1, go into the last, we're skipping this one, going to the last one with a double. Alrighty, chain 1, going into that first double crochet with a double, chain 1, going to the next double with a double, chain 1, skip 1, go into the next with a double, And then, last but not least, after we chain one, we're skipping that one and going into the last double crochet with a double crochet. Yes, I'm so predictable. All right, so that is yet another eyelet row. So as you can see, it's just going to keep growing and growing and growing. And so I'm going to do another solid row for you, and then I'm going to show you how to do the edging, okay? And, you know, that should give you a pretty firm idea as to what to do. Basically, it's a matter of, like I said, at the solid rows, you're always doing 2 into the first, like so. And with the eyelet rows, you're not skipping the first ones. You know, you're skipping afterwards, but not with the first 2, as you can see right here, okay? And if you just keep that in mind, and you keep your counts in mind, you know, because like for instance, we have 1 space, and then we have 2 spaces, 2 eyelets, and then we have 3 eyelets. As long as you keep your counts right, you know, you can't go wrong, okay? So I'm going to do one more solid round with you, and then I'm going to show you the border, and then you guys can totally do this. I know you can. All right. Alrighty, so we're going to start by chaining up 3, turn the work, do a double crochet into that first double crochet, double into the chain 1 space, double into the next double, double into the chain 1 space, double into the double, double into the space, and double into the last double. So as you can see, it's becoming more obvious where that eyelet row is, sort of separating the pie wedges, the segments. So now we chain 1, going into the next segment, 2 double crochets into the first double crochet, then a double into the chain 1 space, double into the double, double into the space, double into the double, double into the space, double into the double, double into the space. Oops, see, I went too far. I went too far, so that's okay. Because of the magic of crochet, you know, it's very easy to fix. See, I went just too far because I just got into my groove, you know. So, you know, never want to exceed and go into that eyelet row going vertically. But yes, sure enough, I did it. All right, so that's 2 segments done. Chain 1, going into the next segment, 2 doubles into the first double, like so, double into the chain 1 space, double into the double, double into the space, double into the double, double into the space, and double into the double. All right. See, I caught myself this time. All right, so now we do a chain 1, going into the next segment with 2 doubles into the first double. And also, I would strongly suggest that at the end of every row that you do, it does pay to check over your work. trust me, you know, it may seem a little tedious and a little laborious, but I did have a problem myself when I was making my example piece where my counts didn't match up, and I was going to have to add or subtract, you know, an eyelet space, and I ended up having to undo, I think it was like maybe two rows, which doesn't seem that bad, except for the fact that it was really, the rows were really quite long at that point. And it was a lot of work that I had to undo. So it happens to me too. Frogging does happen, you know, and so I can't stress that enough, that it does pay to keep a close eye on what you're doing sometimes. Otherwise, you end up having to frog quite a bit of work. You know, and it's not catastrophic by any means, because this is really, you know, as you can see, it's a pretty easy pattern to follow through. Once you get the idea of the mechanics and how it works, it's really not hard. But as I said, I used about a skein and a half of the mandala yarn. That being said, you do end up going through quite a bit of yarn, and each row gets progressively bigger and bigger. So in spite of the fact that it's really easy, it does end up taking up a lot of yarn after a while for each row. So it's always good to keep an eye on your pattern, just like I ended up catching myself before going into this eyelet space. All right, so just checking over. And how I always do it is I see, all right, do I have 2 in my first there? Yes. 2 in my first? Yes. 2 in my first? Oh, yes. And yes. Yes. Perfect. See, and that's how I sort of scan over my work each time. And then with the eyelet rows, I always, you know, do a quick look like, all right, did I skip a stitch? No. Okay. No, I'm good. You know, and it's sort of a cursory way of looking over and just double checking, because that way you won't have to frog later. And I know it is the curse of a stitcher's existence to frog, and if you are into knitting, if you have to tink your work, it can be very frustrating. I know. You know, it's not the end of the world, but oh my, it can be rather annoying. All right, so we're done with this row, and now I'm going to show you how to do the edging, and that you would want to do on the end of, after doing a solid row, and that's why I did an extra solid row for you, okay? And it really doesn't matter how many rows you do, you know, just make the project as big as you want it. I always suggest that from here to here, that it is at least from fingertip to fingertip. I would say even go for more, because that way the distance from here to here will go down your back a nice length. Okay, that is what I would suggest as far as size, but everybody's different, so I wouldn't say, yes, there is a specific dimension in mind. You know, ultimately, I would say, do what works for you. Do what makes you happy, okay? So, with that being said, I'm going to get myself situated, and then we're going to do the edging. Yay! Alrighty, so we finished our solid row. Now we're going to do the edging, which you can do if you so choose. Personally, I rather like this one, so I'm going to show you how to do it. So you're going to start by chaining up 1, then turning your work, and into that first stitch there, you're going to do a single crochet, chaining up 2, and then into that same stitch, 2 double crochets, and it creates sort of a little shell, and we're going to skip 2 stitches, and you're going to go into the third one with a single crochet. Oops, hello. Going into the third one with a single crochet, like so. You got a little shell. Then we're going to do the same thing over and over and over. You chain 2, 2 double crochets into that same stitch. Skip 2 stitches going into the third with a single crochet. And it creates a nice little sort of wavy shell edging, which I really, really do like. Chain 2, 2 double crochets into that same stitch. All right, so now we have what looks like it may be a problem. Well, it's not really. So we've got 1 stitch, 2 stitches. That chain stitch counts as a stitch. So we're going to skip this one and this one. We're just going to go into that next one with a single crochet. All right, chain 2, 2 doubles into that same stitch. Skip 2, go into the next with a single. Chain 2, 2 doubles into that same stitch. Skip 2, go into the next. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Chain 2, 2 doubles into that same stitch. Skip 2, 1, 2, going into that next one with a single. Now, it may happen that you may need to skip this one and do a single crochet into this stitch. That's fine. You can do that too. You know, just treat it like a normal stitch. You would just be going into that stitch with a single crochet stitch. That's okay, because, you know, my count may not be your count. You know, you may want to do, you know, more repeats than I did. You know, I mean, obviously, this is not a this is not a fixed shawl here. You know, you would want to make this bigger. So after chaining 2 doubles into that same stitch, and then skip 2, single crochet into the next, and you would just keep doing this all the way across the edge until, of course, you reach the very end. And you would want to do a single crochet into this last stitch. Now, if your count is off, don't worry about it. Do not fret, do not worry. It's okay. Instead of skipping 2 stitches, just skip 1. You know, that is okay. You know, I really don't think that is going to make a huge, dramatic difference in the appearance of your shawl. You know, it's okay. It's quite all right. Don't sweat the small stuff. That's rule number 1. Rule number 2, everything is small stuff. Okay? It's all about having fun here, right? All right, so listen, you would just continue this on, and then shaboom, you're done. You know, and this is a really great pattern, and I'm so glad that we have creators on Ravelry like PurpleIguana, because she's fabulous. She's got some really great stuff out there. So listen, my dears, I really, really hope that you enjoyed this tutorial as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. And if you did, please hit the little thumbs up button, because your support means ever so much to me. And if you have any questions, comments, what have you, please do so in the comment section down below, because I love hearing from you. And, you know, just say hi, you know, if nothing else. You know, if you aren't subscribed, please hit that button as well, because I try to post videos as often as I can, time permitting and so on and so forth. And that way, you'll be in the know. So listen, until next time, I want you to stay inspired, stay caffeinated, and above all, stay stitching. I love you all, and I will see you in my next video. Bye for now.